Next set of videos. Today we're going to be jumping into week 2, video 1. We're going to be uncovering all about the basics and understanding what are calories, what are macronutrients, and really diving deep into what we call a calorie deficit and why it is so important. So I'm Sam, Matt's with me as well. We're going to get kicked off. So what we're going to cover tonight, this is always quite an important page, we feel, because this is basically telling you what we want you to leave with or what you will leave with. As we said on the previous videos, I would absolutely have a pen and paper with you to make a few notes. Find the bits that really connect with you and you think, oh, wow, it's like you're speaking to me. Make some notes on it so you know how to kind of start to make those improvements. We always want you to be watching these videos thinking of practical actions that you can take straight away to improving your results, improving your nutrition, and improving your health. So what we're going to look at tonight is hopefully you're going to leave with absolute clarity on how to bulletproof your nutrition. So how to kind of have a real control of how you can gain the results you want. Practical tips to achieve a calorie deficit, and understanding what functional nutrition is and how to achieve your goals. Anything to add to that on that, Matt?
No, it's all good. That's good.
So, first bit, probably the thing that if you've ever followed anyone about nutrition or anything, the biggest thing that seems to be a real buzzword is is this thing called a calorie deficit. It's something that has always been around, but it has a real importance about being talked about now, because in all honesty, if you're watching this video, 90% of people who first come to us as LPT, they normally want to lose weight, get a bit stronger. So to lose weight, whatever happens, there is only one thing that is absolutely gospel when having to lose weight. You have to achieve a calorie deficit. You could be training like a professional athlete, you could be doing everything else right, but if you are over consuming the amount of calories, you will not achieve any weight loss. That's kind of the hard facts about it. We're going to now take the time to unpack it to hopefully make sure you have real clarity about what the hell is a calorie deficit, how do I actually achieve it, why is it so important, and how do I know if I'm even in it. So that's what we're going to spend sort of the next bit of time really delving into today. Anything to add before we kind of get on to why is it so important, Matt?
Yeah, I think just a reminder what a calorie is. I suppose it's useful for people watching. So a calorie is basically just a unit of energy, and so when we've got all of these units of energy together, we have what's called energy balance. So if you've had a look at the welcome pack that you get with this program so far, there's a good chapter on energy balance, but ultimately it's just the amount of calories that you consume versus the amount of calories that you burn off. So that's the short and simple version of it. But we will go into that in a little bit more depth, because it isn't that simple, and I think it is actually probably oversimplified in the health and fitness industry, and which is why people generally don't understand it properly, and because they don't understand it properly, don't get the best benefits and results.
Amazing. And what we set out to do, or certainly 100% like what our mission is to help you fully understand it, because I think having clarity about what it is, clarity is only ever going to help, but then we want to make it supremely simple. That's kind of that sweet spot. To fully understand it is really key, but then we want to make sure it is simple. We don't want to overcomplicate it, because that's when it can get a bit more difficult as well. So when we're looking at why it's so important, I'm going to pass on to you now, Matt, for this one, because we talk about, I think for the first part, what I think is a really good thing to explain is where our calories are actually broke down. So a lot of people are probably thinking, well, if I'm training and I've come in and I'm now doing 3 workouts a week, whereas I wasn't doing any, and I'm walking and doing things, surely that means I can have loads more calories in my day. So we're just going to break down now exactly what like our daily calories are where they go, what they use. So yeah, I'll hand over to you, Matt, now to go over that, exactly how that looks.
Okay, do you want me to go over why it's important?
Yeah, so how, like, in terms of that, like the breakdown of what it is. So when we talk about things like the NEAT principle, where we actually expend most of our calories, and then we'll kind of, I think that like I say, that gives a really good overview of why it is so important when we
Yeah, yeah.
actually
I guess why is it important? How do we achieve it? Kind of the similar things. I'd probably start with why is it so important is the main reason the calorie deficit and understanding calorie deficit more detailed is because ultimately there's going to be times when, even if we help you build a meal plan and you got structure, a lot of people, that's what they want when they join our programs. They'll say to us, can I just have a meal plan, and we actually used to make the mistake of just giving people what they wanted, which was a meal plan, until we realized that actually what people wanted and what they needed were two different things. Most people think they just need a fitness plan or they just need a meal plan and that's it. But then they forget that life gets in the way, busyness gets in the way, stress gets in the way, emotional issues get in the way, time constraints get in the way. And so we have to make decisions on our feet. And unless we are making decisions based on core principles that are based on science, then we're not going to see the results that we want. And the calorie deficit is a principle. It's a factual a piece of science that we know based on thermodynamics. We can't argue it. So we need to, when we are stressed or when we are short on time, we need to be able to make good decisions. Now there are multiple different ways to achieve the calorie deficit. The one that most people know of is to burn calories by exercising, now that's just one, and that's not actually a big one, So one of the biggest ways of burning calories that people aren't aware of is a process called NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is the amount of calories that you're burning when you just sort of pottering around the house or you're busy on the go. It's one of the reasons why people that are a bit fidgety and they can never sit still, they tend not to be that overweight, because they are just constantly sort of burning calories, whether it's through like a nervous energy or whatever, because of their personality, because of their characteristics. They're always on the go. They can't sit still. They are going to be burning calories way more than someone else that's quite happy just to sit on the couch all day or sit at the office all day and not do a lot. So it is actually quite important to consider that into your day. Like think about your typical day, your typical week. How active am I when I'm not in the gym? Maybe you're one of these people that when you're in the gym, you work really hard and you're doing like an hour 3 times a week. But what about on those other 4 days? If you are very sedentary on those other 4 days and you're not burning many calories, that might be something to look at. So NEAT is another way we burn calories. Your metabolism is another big hitter. So your resting metabolism, this is something that we use to actually work out how many calories that you should be targeting. We do that on loads of different ways. The algorithm is quite complex. It takes into account things like your body fat percentage, your weight, your gender, and other things. But ultimately, your metabolism is the amount of calories that your body needs just to sustain you and keep you alive. And that very much is determined by your muscle mass, how much muscle you're carrying, which is, I always use extreme examples for people to help understand this. So if you look at like the big bodybuilders of the world, a lot of them do very little cardio actually. And when you think that most people think cardio exercise is the exercise that you should do to burn the most calories, but then you look at an extreme example of a competitive model or bodybuilder who does very little cardio, but they often have the smallest body fat on their body, the smallest body fat percentage. It just goes to show the power of muscle mass, because their body requires, it is literally eating up energy as it comes in because of the muscle mass. So this is one of the reasons why when we do the programming for your training, for aesthetics, it's going to always include load-based training. whether that's body weight or ideally lifting some form of extra weight using bands or dumbbells or kettlebells. Okay, that's always going to help in the long run. And that's a very different strategy from a lot of diets and weight loss programs out in the world, because they'll mainly focus not on NEAT, not on exercise, and not on metabolism. They'll focus on the one hitter, which is consuming less calories through food, which is a really, really good one to focus on. But if you only rest your laurels on that one, eventually that can fall short as well. So those are the last one that most people have no idea on, is actually you burn calories just by what food you're eating. So when you're eating protein, for instance, your body, the processes your body have to go through to actually break down and metabolize protein, amino acids, convert them into amino acids, is a much harder process for the body to go through than something like burning off glucose or carbohydrates. So for that reason, we know through a process called thermogenesis that your body burns more calories just through the act of breaking down the protein. So this is one of the reasons why over the coming weeks you're going to hear it. You're going to get you're definitely going to hear a lot of us talking about eat protein. Are you getting your protein? Are you getting your 1 to 2 palm size servings, or 30-40 grams of protein per meal? Because it really does help with the overall calorie burning. Okay. Now the last question is, okay, I'm trying to do all these things to achieve a calorie deficit, but the big question is, how do I know? Like you could be exercising more, you could be trying to eat less, you could be trying to do all these things, but how do you really know if you are in a calorie deficit? So we've got a very simple little graphic for you to kind of explain this.